Today, I'm diving deep to show you exactly how using the Insta360 X4 to push the limits of what is possible. Plus, I've got two brand new, never before seen mounts for the Insta360 X4 to try out, which promise some truly unique perspectives.
Small, oddly shaped man.
We'll be covering 7 mounting options in total with countless angles, and I'll show you how to get those epic shots with real world footage. Don't worry, I'll also break down the camera's tech in simple terms, showing you how to squeeze every ounce of potential out of this 8K 2-directional recording beast. From insane stabilization to weatherproofing, audio clarity. This is just a handheld audio test. And even selecting the best clips in the Insta360 editing software, I've got everything covered. But here's the real question. How easy is it to use the Insta360 X4 while cycling and capture great footage? Let's be real, no one wants to be that person fiddling with a gadget at the side of the road while their friends disappear over the horizon. I've left timestamps below so you can jump from section to section. A big thanks to Insta360 for sponsoring this video. Now let's get started and see what all the fuss is about. Now, as I'm unboxing, I can't help but wonder how much all of this weighs. So I've grabbed the trusty kitchen scales. I'll probably get chased by the wife later for using them. Hopefully.
Excuse me?
First up, we have the 256GB Insta360 branded micro SD card. If you're someone who needs more storage, they sell cards all the way up to 512GB. There's also a premium lens cover that fits the protective eyes of the camera. Considering this will be in action-packed scenarios, it's a much needed addition. Now, these covers are made from scratch-resistant tempered glass. Next is the lens cap. Now, this is a simple yet thoughtful addition made from silicone and designed to fit over both the premium and standard lens guards. Let's talk about the accessories, and first up we have the invisible selfie stick. It weighs in at 122 grams, so pretty lightweight but pretty sturdy. Then we have the action invisible selfie stick. Now this one's made from carbon fiber, so it's even stronger, and we'll put it through its paces later in the video. It's slightly heavier at 129 grams, still very light though. Now onto the star of the show, the Insta360 X4 itself. It looks sleek and looks every bit as high tech as you would expect. The first thing I noticed was the textured grip, which gives a much better feel in the hand than other cameras I've used. There are also loads of slots and buttons. We'll get into all that later, but the standout feature has to be the 360-degree 8K camera, or should I say cameras, plural, because there are 2 of them in that Sauron eyeball. Now we'll dive into the full specs as we go through the video, focusing on practical use cases rather than just listing stats, but here are the stats if you want them. We also have the Think Bold case, which contains a USB-C to USB-C charge cable and the protective case. Now on the scale, she comes in at 202 grams and the case is 11 grams. I've eaten donuts heavier. In the bike bundle, we've got the handlebar mount that feels robust. It also has a single screw to adjust the whole camera position and where it's placed. Various connections and screws are also included for mounting, and we'll try all of them out later in the video. Now the chest mount is equally as sturdy. I like the size of the pad that sits on your chest, and in total it weighs 205 grams, so not too substantial. Now onto the third person bike handlebar mount. The first thing that caught my eye when I opened the box was a carbon fiber rod that holds the camera. Now as we know from countless carbon bike videos, carbon fiber is super strong and lightweight. This mount makes use of both of those qualities. The bar mount itself looks like something straight out of Mad Max, which I'm totally here for. There's plenty of adjustability, so I'm excited to see how it performs once installed. The headset cap mount also feels like a solid piece of kit, and it comes in 2 different parts. And there's an additional pouch with some extra goodies like the camera mount and screws to secure everything in place. This one weighs in at 197 grams. Mystery box number 1 contains a new out front GPS mount. It's another well-machined piece of hardware that allows you to mount both your GPS and the Insta360 camera in one tidy setup. This mount will come in 2 versions, one for fully integrated bars and one for stepper and bar combo. The only difference is the mounting point. Now on the wife's baking scales, they are both pretty light, which is a feature of these new mounts, as well as the simplicity and neatness, if that's your thing. Finally, we have mystery box number 2, which contains a new tail mount. Tail mount is a good name once you see this thing waggling behind you. Now this mount is designed to capture some truly ridiculous footage, and it connects to both your seat post and seat for added stability with 2 mounting points. It has that sort of Swiss Army knife feel.
Nice.
Now before we start juggling the Insta360 X4, I'm going to install the premium lens cover to protect the camera's giant eyeball. It's like this thing's staring at me. Just make sure the orange dot is aligned with the little mark on the camera for the proper positioning. Now before we can use the Insta360 X4, we need to set it up. Now to do this, we can start by opening the battery compartment. Next, install the micro SD card, then reinsert the battery, ensuring the clips are securely shut to maintain the camera's waterproof seal. After that, plug the camera into charge. Mine already had 78% charge, some juice from a previous life. Now we need to download the Insta360 app to activate the camera. Head over to the App Store, download it. And with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth turned on, the app will detect nearby devices. Turn on the camera, select your language, and the app will find the camera eventually. Press connect on both devices. You might be prompted for a firmware update. While that downloads, you can dream of all the epic footage you'll soon be capturing. The firmware will be sent to the camera from the phone and automatically installed. After the update, reconnect the camera to the phone and you're all set to register and activate. Now once activated, you need to specify which lens guards you are using. This is important, and in my case I have the premium lens guards installed. From the camera screen you'll find all sorts of settings, recording modes to explore. You can adjust the recording quality all the way up to that ridiculous 8K and tweak the frame rate for slow motion, which we'll dive into later with the real world footage. With the camera setup complete, I'm going to jump straight into the mounting options because this is the most important part. Once we have the camera mounted correctly in the position we like, we simply need to press play. Now we have 6 mounts, 7 if you include the selfie stick as well, so a huge range of shots are inbound. We have 2 brand new mounts that are being released today, which will greatly improve mounting for specific scenarios as well. To install the third person out front bike mount, the first step is to undo the mount on the clamp. Once you've got that sorted, place the mount onto the bars, then tighten the thumb screws nice and snug to secure the clamp in place. Next, screw the X4 in position on the end of the carbon fiber rod with the pole parallel to the ground. Now this mount fits handlebars with a diameter between 25 and 32 mil, so basically any standard handlebar will work. Now you can also mount the camera on the other 2 mounts for some variety. To do this, you need to install the 2-prong adapter, which screws into the bottom of the camera. You can mount it vertically on top for a great POV, or lower down on the bottom mount for a better road capturing angle. Now what's great is the pole has a fixed angle adjustment as well every 10 degrees, so once you lock the camera in position, it's locked in place. It's not going anywhere. No worrying about the sort of camera slipping mid-ride. Those fixed angles ensure that it's securely locked in. It's perfect for those third person shots or for when you're speaking directly to the camera. That third person perspective looking back, it really looks like someone else is filming you, to be honest, which is the same effect you get with the new seat mount from the rear. Next we have the handlebar cap mount. Now to install this, we can start by removing the existing headset bolt. Next, install the headset cap base, which securely sits onto your bike's stem. Now if needed, you can use bolts provided in the box for a snug fit. Once the base is in place, attach a universal joint onto the headset cap base with the included Allen key screw on top. At this point, you have 2 mounting options for your camera. You can install the camera directly onto the universal joint, which supports the camera from the bottom. Alternatively, you can opt to install the Action Invisible selfie stick, the carbon one, for a more dynamic shot. Now one of the key advantages of this mount is that it keeps the camera within reach, making it super easy to turn on and off without a fuss. Even on my carbon road bike, it doesn't look out of place. It's surprising how far away I appear, even though on my road bike I'm basically smelling the camera. Now that's the beauty, I guess, of the ultra wide 360 view. When you adjust the camera vertically directly on the mount, it really captures what's going on ahead. Overall, a big thumbs up for the simplicity and stability of this mount. Now installing the vertical handlebar mount is a breeze. It's a simple setup with just a single screw to grip the bars. Now for this mount, the camera must be connected directly. No extendable selfie sticks are advised to be used with this mount. Now this is a compact and small mount, which I really like for its minimalistic design. Now with just a single screw, you get a surprising amount of adjustment, allowing you to angle the camera wherever you like. It's simple but incredibly effective. Now positioned in line with the bike, the camera sits far enough away to still give that third person view, which looks good, so that's covered. What's great is you can switch up the mounting locations for some unique shots if you like. For example, you can place it on the drops out to the side of the bike for a wider view, or you can mount it on the seat stay for a very distinctive angle, either looking at your bike or looking up at you. Installing the chest mount is pretty straightforward, one would hope. The straps are nice and wide for comfort, and there's adjustment on nearly every strap as well, allowing you to get the perfect fit. Now from experience, you want to keep it tight to your body, tighter than what you think, to stop the camera from moving around while you're in action. The X4 can then be mounted using a thumb screw. Now one of the things I've always liked about chest mounts is that your body acts as a natural gimbal, keeping the footage smooth. This chest strap in particular has a really large pad with an anti-slip back in. This chest mount and this view is tried and tested. It's also very nice to not have to worry about the camera angle on your chest strap as well. It's easy to accidentally record your knees and chin, and while I don't mind my knees and chin, it would make for some pretty boring footage. Luckily, the 360 view presents that because you crop the footage in the edit, which we'll look at shortly. Onto the Action Selfie Stick, and this is a fantastic tool for getting all kinds of dynamic shots. The beauty here is that your arm is that natural gimbal, giving you incredible range and flexibility. With the Action Stick, it's much easier to get good shots of the bike. In the past, getting the camera in the right position and close to the bike was tricky, but with this setup you can shoot first and reframe later, and then when you stitch different angles together, the content becomes really dynamic and engaging. The pole itself extends to 1 meter, so you can choose how long or short you want depending on the shot, from a chopstick to a pole vault in one swift motion. Now the new bike computer mount is a game changer, especially if you're working with fully integrated bars. Now integrated bars aren't typically circular, so using other mounts on these can be tricky. This new GPS mount solves that issue perfectly. It comes in 2 versions, one for those fully integrated bars we speak of, and one for a standard bar and stem combo. To install, you start by attaching the bike computer mount, that little circular thing, for your GPS. In my case, the Garmin one. I'll ensure the mount is orientated correctly so the GPS displays in line. Now for standard bars, the mount attaches directly to the stem bolts, and then we secure everything together with an Allen key. Now for the integrated mount, we use the 2 screws that are located under the stem to secure the mount in place. Next, we install the X4 onto the twist mount at the end of the computer mount. Once everything's in place, both the camera and the GPS have their own spots and everything feels locked in. It's worth noting that this setup isn't compatible with selfie sticks. There's also an additional 3-prong mount underneath for even more versatility. The footage is great. You can look back at yourself in that 3rd-person view, which is becoming increasingly popular these days. They do suggest that this mount is used on flat surfaces and not a mogul field. Overall, a great little mount that integrates seamlessly. Now the second of the new mounts is a tail mount, and this creates a really secure dual mounting point for those stable 3rd-person shots from behind looking forward. So let's take a look. Now this new mount has quite a few parts, so I'm going to break it down bit by bit to ensure we get everything installed properly, or at least I think properly. First, I'm tackling the seat post mount. Now after some fiddling, I figured out the right combination of adapters to get a secure fit on my seat post. Once that's sorted, we can secure everything in place using the provided bolts. Be sure to tighten them evenly to keep the mount nice and straight. Next, move on to the standard seat post mount, which can also be used by itself if you like. With these 2 securely in place, we're ready to add the selfie stick. Attach the adapter to the seat post mount first, then screw the Action Selfie Stick into the adapter. For extra stability, we use the thumb screw on the larger seat post mount to grip the selfie stick at the second mounting point, ensuring everything is locked in place and secure. Both mounts pivot as well, giving you the option to have the camera off center. Additionally, if you prefer, you can mount the camera directly onto the seat rail mount. When recording, positioning is key. At first, I look like Gru from the Minions. Not exactly the look I was going for. Extending the pole fully though made all the difference. Now as you can see, the view is now super wide, capturing loads of the surrounding. What's cool about the Insta360 is the fact it captures all directions, so at any point I can rotate the footage in the editing software to look behind, creating that more dynamic video. The off-center angle really makes it look like someone's recording you, to be honest, from a distance. Just be mindful that the camera is sticking out wider than your bike though. Bashing the camera into a tree at 20 miles per hour isn't on the agenda. It also gives the bike a bit of a giant tail look, which will get the local bike club giving you the eyeballs. The new mounts being released today are pretty epic, and I've included the links in the description below for those who want to check them out. It's good to have so many options now to capture different angles and shots. The variety of mounts really opens up the possibilities, those 3rd-person views that were previously hard to achieve. The more compact mounts allow you to install them and forget about them. What I really appreciate these days is a focus on compatibility with fully integrated bars and seat posts with irregular shapes, making these mounts versatile across more setups. close-ups. We've gone through all the different ways to mount the camera and looked at the footage, but what about recording modes? How do we turn all this footage into amazing videos or social media shots? Don't worry, I'm a tech head at heart, so I'll break this down for you in simple terms. The Insta360 X4 has two dual 4K cameras, one facing forward and one facing backwards. So when you combine them, you get 8K 360-degree footage, and the camera fills in any gaps automatically. Why does this matter? Recording in 8K is essential for keeping high quality when reframing your shots later. It's like shooting a bigger picture and then zooming in without losing any detail. If you want your final video to be 4K, you need to record in 8K to allow for this cropping while maintaining the quality. You can adjust the camera's resolution in the settings. 5.7K is a great middle ground if you're looking to save battery life and file size, while 4K is perfect for longer recordings with greater battery efficiency and reduced quality after cropping. You can even record in 100 frames per second in 4K for slow motion shots. For most situations though, just leave it on 30 frames per second, that is perfect. The Insta360 X4 has a 72 megapixel photo mode, so you can switch to this mode and capture those sort of stunning still images. There are other modes like bullet time and time shift, but in my experience I prefer recording in standard mode and then doing all the fancy editing afterwards. Now, I'm not usually a fan of camera apps, but the Insta360 app is surprisingly useful, especially with a 360-degree camera like this. Now, one standout feature being the ability to start and stop recording remotely and check your framing in real time, which is great when the camera is mounted somewhere that you cannot reach, like on your tail. You can also view the footage you've already taken and pan around that footage to ensure you captured everything you wanted. The app does allow you to change key settings, frame rate, resolution, recording modes, just like you would on the camera itself, but with the added benefit of a much bigger screen. You can even edit your footage directly in the app and export it for social media or for videos. Personally though, I prefer using the Insta360 Studio app for larger edits. The Insta360 X4 packs a 2290 mAh battery. You can always check your battery percentage by tapping the battery icon, and when you put the X4 on charge, it conveniently shows you the current battery level. Now, they claim it takes around an hour to charge, and from my experience that's pretty accurate. Now, battery life will vary depending on the recording mode, so I'll throw that info up on screen now for you. Keep in mind, high resolutions will drain the battery quicker than lower resolutions. From years of recording and editing, I now only record what I need, and I would advise you to do the same. If you leave the camera running endlessly, it will eat up storage and kill the battery. It takes you an age as well to look through in the edit, plus you'll end up cutting most of that footage as well if you're using it for YouTube videos or putting it on social media. So be strategic. It saves you a lot of time and hassle in the future when you are editing. To put things into perspective as well, I recorded 80 gigabytes of footage with the X4 for this video, and that's me being selective. Over 100 gigabytes in total from all the cameras that I used. So if you are used to talking in megabytes or gigabytes, get ready to start thinking in terabytes.
Hundreds of terabytes.
The Insta360 X4 comes with built-in stabilization that's designed to make even mountain biking look smooth. So for gravel and road riding, you're in good hands. I put it to the test by going over some speed bumps, and honestly, it's like nothing even happened. The same can be said for some bumpy gravel riding as well. As you can see from all the footage that I've put in this video, the stabilization tech these days is next level. The footage is usable straight from the camera with no need for additional post-processing. And if you're using the chest mount or holding the camera by hand as well, you've got that natural gimbal effect of your body, which helps keep things even smoother. Audio is very much overlooked in video creation. The emphasis is always on the footage, but it's vitally important. Now, the audio is pretty good from the camera for action shots. It's plenty good enough. This is just a handheld audio test, just riding again, fairly windy conditions. It's not exactly the best conditions, it's a little bit overcast. The camera's quite close. It's surprising how far away the camera actually looks because of this wide angle lens. So what that enables you to do though is get the camera really close to your face so that when you speak, obviously it's easier for it to pick up the sound. It's kind of weird because you end up sort of mouth to mouth and eyeball to eyeball with this thing.
My name is Sonny.
But for action shots and on the bike footage, not bad at all. You can buy a mic adapter if you like and use an external mic if the sound is top priority for you. The Insta360 X4 is rated to IPX8, meaning that it's waterproof up to 33 feet, 10 meters. So getting caught out in the rain or even taking it for a swim won't be an issue. Now just make sure all the compartments are fully closed before you start swimming with your rubber duck. If not, water will penetrate. Then there's a less intrusive recording. Now the 360-degree camera takes the emphasis away from constantly having to point out and frame your shots. The camera traditionally is always a focal point. You look at the camera, you point the camera where it needs to be, you have to focus on what it's doing. With this though, you can put it in the general vicinity, let it record and capture everything around you, and it will record in all directions. Now this helps alleviate that feeling of the camera being the focus, allowing you to enjoy the moment instead. Now that concludes today's antics. Thanks to Insta360 for sponsoring the video and providing the camera and mounts for review. Any questions, drop a comment down below and I'll do my best to answer, and I will see you in the next one.